We also watched AEW Dynamite January 20th, 2021, which opens with Negative One's birthday celebration. We finally saw on Dynamite the clip from Dark of Negative One cutting a promo on Dr. Luther, telling him he has a ball on his face, and his face just looks stupid, and the Dark Order will always beat him. And they light the candles on Negative One's cake, and it's outside and windy, so this is much more difficult than it sounds. And John Silver says it's time. Tonight we will get a handsome cowboy recruit, Adam Page, and it's also somebody's birthday. And the whole crowd sings happy birthday to Negative One, but then Dr. Luther interrupts. This place is becoming nothing but a daycare center, he says. You want to say I look stupid? My face is perfectly symmetrical. You're the stupid-looking one. You're the doofus. The Chaos Project doesn't like children. The Chaos Project doesn't like you. And the Chaos Project is going to ruin your birthday. What a great show. What a great show. So the match is Hangman Page and the Dark Order versus Chaos Project and TH2. And for a long time, I was just struggling to wrap my head around the fact that I was watching Jack Evans and Dr. Luther wrestle in the same match on national cable television in 2021. It was 20 years ago, maybe 21 years ago. Last time I saw them on the same show, it was not on TNT.
You know, it wasn't.
Life is strange. So it is a Dynamite match. There's a bunch of stuff happening, a bunch of dives outside the ring, a bunch of dives inside the ring. Luther and Colt Cabana end up by the cake, where Negative One hits Luther with a stick, and he goes into the cake. And Page and some of the guys from Dark Order do a tremendous combo of moves in the ring. They pin Serpentico, and then afterwards, Negative One hits Serpentico with a stick as well, adds, "My birthday was 3 days ago, you idiots!" And he throws papers at them, like his daddy would have done. And they cut to his family, where I believe her name is Amanda, is having the time of her life, and poor young Nolan seems scared by this whole thing. He was not sure what to make of this. But I was. This is a lot of fun. Just fun.
Dude, this is a very controversial segment I learned today. I really liked this. And the argument is, too wacky, there's a kid with a stick, Luther's out there being goofy.
It's Dr. Luther.
Well, here's my take on it, all right? Let's say that you're a fan, and you didn't like this, okay?
All right.
If you're a fan and this made you quit watching wrestling, you wouldn't be watching in a year anyway.
This is not the sport for you.
Okay, you just wouldn't, all right? Now, casual fans. Maybe there was some bloke sitting all by himself that for the first time ever decided to watch AEW alone, and he watched this and he never watched again. Yeah, maybe that happened, okay? But my guess would be that anybody who is watching this show for the first time, or they're not really a fan, probably was watching with somebody who was a fan. My wife, for example, even though we didn't watch this together. And if Whitney looked at this and said, "What the fuck is going on?" I would have said, well, that young fella right there, his father died. And they're trying to make him feel better about everything. And just having some fun. And I'd bet you dollars for donuts, once that was explained, she would absolutely love this. Because it was, to me, what they used to do after like a live Raw or SmackDown, where they would do something only for the crowd. The Rock would drink with a heel, or Steve Austin would drink with a heel. You knew what was going to happen. They delivered. They did some singing or something that they never do on television. But as a fan just watching the Dark segment, you were just so happy when you went home. That's what I felt watching this here. If you want to say that that's an argument for this shouldn't have been on television, maybe it should have been on Dark, you can make that argument if you want to. But at the end of the day, when I saw that cake and the match started, I knew somebody was going in the cake, and I knew who it was going to be.
Yes.
And they delivered it.
Yes.
And in the middle of this, they had a very good match. They told you the story of -1 on commentary. You saw his family out there. I mean, how could you feel bad about that? I find it hard to believe that on a grand scale, this was any sort of negative. I'm sure that some people didn't like it. I'm sure that some people thought that it was terrible. I don't think it makes a shit's worth of difference in the grand scheme of the wrestling universe to do this here on this show one time. -1 is not going to be a regular. I mean, his father passed away like 3-4 weeks ago. It's still very recent. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was fine. That's my opinion.
So afterwards, John Silver tells Adam Page he's good, amazing, a really good wrestler. He's handsome, and he has nice hair, and John likes him a lot. He gets down on one knee and asks, "Will you join the Dark Order?" And Heyman takes the mic, and he pauses, and he collects himself, and he gets as far as, "I can't." When the music starts to play, confetti fires off, they drop big banners. He said yes. But Evil Uno is frantically trying to get it all put away, get the confetti cut off, get these banners away, because he's the only one who heard. They were not expecting Adam Page to turn them down. Heyman says, "Listen, I had a lot of fun with you guys these last few weeks. I tried to put this off, but I've done the group thing. It didn't end well for me. I'm sorry." And he walks out on them, leaves the Dark Order hanging.
And you know, the other thing, too, is I really like that part, too, when he says no and then all this stuff goes off. I mean, it was awesome.
Yes.
But if we're going to talk about a casual fan that's never watched wrestling, this second part was like every bit as wacky as the first part, just in a completely different way. What in the fuck would someone surfing channels think about this really short bald guy on his knees proposing to this cowboy and then all this shit flying in? I mean, it was completely preposterous.
And then this masked fella in a suit trying to get the decorations put away.
Yes.
It was wacky. There's no other word for what this was. It was wacky. Tonight on Dynamite, the Inner Circle Tag Team Challenge. Jon Moxley in action. Penelope Ford versus Layla Hirsch. Matt Sydal and Top Flight versus Matt Hardy and Private Party, who are now the #1 contenders to the Impact Wrestling Tag Team titles. Cody Rhodes versus Pretty Peter Avalon.
Yeah, that happened.
And if you thought I was surprised at the idea of Casey Catanzaro turning heel, they advertised a Peter Avalon Cody Rhodes match. Jon Moxley gets in action, but I am told to stay tuned for Cody Rhodes and Peter Avalon. And then Sting congratulates Darby Allin. And I thought to myself, great, another segment where Sting and Darby Allin come out and nothing happens. I was wrong about that one.
I tried to tell you. No one ever listens to me.
Alex Marvez interviews Chris Jericho and MJF. And MJF admits he is worried this three-way tag match tonight could sow dissension amongst the Inner Circle. Jericho says no, it will bring us closer together. It will make us all stronger. At the end of the night, we will move on together like a unit, like we always do. And MJF vows that you're looking at the next AEW Tag Team Champions. Shivani interviews Sting and Darby Allin. They do the whole big entrance. Sting talks for like 15 seconds. Team Taz interrupts. Taz tells Sting to shut up. Talking about last week like it was a fair fight. Fair fight, my ass. You came out with a baseball bat and attacked Ricky Starks. Darby Allin had a belt tied around Cage's feet. This is all true, by the way. You guys are fighting dirty. You guys fight street style while my guys have been gentlemen. Well, I grew up in the streets, and I challenge you guys to a street fight. And Sting whispers something in Darby's ear. Darby tells Team Taz to be careful what they wish for because it just might happen. And the thing just ends.
Dude, you know what I liked about it?
Tell me, Brian.
I liked that Sting is the legend, okay? But when Taz made the challenge for the street fight, Sting was not the guy that accepted the challenge and cut the fiery promo, and
Sure.
his little buddy is just standing there next to him. Darby was positioned as the guy who got to accept the challenge, and my guess would be, and I've been wrong before, my guess would be that Darby is the one who will get the victory in the street fight and not Sting.
I would think so.
Sting is there to make Darby the star. That's his role, even though he's right now a much bigger star.
Right.
In WWE, he would be cutting the promo. He would be getting the win in the street fight. That's not how this giving the rub thing is supposed to work.
Oh.
Now, maybe they'll prove me wrong and Sting's going to beat 2 men on his own or something like that, but I'd be surprised.
We get a 10-second Britt Baker Thunder Rosa video. The Young Bucks go to meet. There's a meeting of the Elite, and Alex Marvez crashes the party with them. They go apparently to Kenny Omega's house, where Michael Nakazawa is waiting for them. He welcomes them in, leads them into a waiting area where there is an oil painting of Kenny Omega and Don Callis with no shirts, with much better physiques than, frankly, either one of them actually has in real life.
You're telling me that Don Callis painting looked better than Don Callis nowadays, Vinny? Is that what you're telling me?
I'm telling you the Kenny Omega painting looks better than Kenny Omega.
You said either of them. Like it would be a big shock.
Well,
wait till you see the oil painting I got emailed to me.
I can only imagine.
Yeah. I was going to put it up on Observer Live today, but I forgot.
So Don explains this painting is a birthday present to Kenny. The Bucks will be talking about his birthday is in October. So Don lets them know Kenny cannot make this meeting. He's far too busy. Wants to say, make sure they get Kenny's new number, because the number keeps changing. And finally, this goes on for a while. They go back and forth, and Don's being very condescending. And when it's time for privacy, Callis tells Nakazawa to take Marvez to the dungeon. It's a wrestling room, he says. You'll have some fun. And take the camera guy, too. But Don takes the camera from the camera guy and sets it down without turning it off. So that's how we get this next found footage bit, where they get in each other's faces. He tells them, you've known Kenny 12 years. You made a great investment of your time, but you're not the kind of company he should be keeping right now. I want to pay you back for your investment. And he writes them a check. And they look at this check, the Bucks do, and they say, okay, forget about even trying to pay us off for our time. We made this money last week. And he says, oh yeah, that's right. Your merch checks. You do very well in the merchandise. He writes them a second check. And I think it's Matt, but one of them says, well, we also used to work for the company that's listed on these checks. We know their checks are no good. And the other Buck says, good point, Max. I laughed so hard at that. A deep cut Generation Me joke. And finally, they bully him. They take their anger out on him. And the camera goes black and we hear him screaming.
Nick Jackson is an underrated, fantastic comedy guy.
Yes.
Nobody ever talks about Nick Jackson, but if you watch Being the Elite, that fucking guy is so funny with his understated humor, and that's what he did here. So yes, there's allegedly a beating.
We didn't see it.
No.
We did not see it.
We just heard some screaming.
And it is awfully convenient that Don Callis was smart enough to remove the cameraman, but not smart enough to turn the camera off.
Yes.
Interesting. As advertised, it's Cody Rhodes versus Peter Avalon. We are told that Cody Rhodes has put on 19 pounds of lean muscle in the past 3 weeks.
No, he didn't.
I am skeptical
I'm just
of this.
telling you.
All right. So I mentioned at the beginning, I cannot believe this match was advertised. So the bell rings, and Cody grabs Peter Avalon and hits Crossroads, his finish. Match is done.
I always love that term, by the way, lean muscle. As opposed to what? Fat muscle?
Well, the
muscle is not fat. Muscle is muscle.
I think it's implied that if you gain 20 pounds, there's probably some fat and some muscle.
Well, then you say he's gained 18 pounds of muscle. What do you mean, lean muscle?
I think lean muscle means no fat. He's gained all this muscle. He has not gained an ounce of fat.
Then you say he only gained muscle, but not lean muscle.
All right. I will alert...
I got lean muscle right here, but down here I got a bunch of fat muscle.
I will alert Jim Ross.
No, that's just fat. I'm not blaming Ross. I'm blaming every person on the fucking planet.
All right.
That's like a common term. Lean mass. Lean muscle. There's no such thing as lean muscle. I guess you could say lean mass. Actually, that doesn't even make sense either. Lean mass? Mass is not lean. Pet peeve.
So Cody Rhodes grabs Peter Avalon and hits his Crossroads. But then Jade Cargill interrupts, just distracts him. And Peter Avalon hits a low blow and takes over. And they wrestle, and they wrestle, and they wrestle. And Peter Avalon hits a superplex and it goes through a break. So you come back from the break with Peter Avalon, and Avalon misses a moonsault. I'm thinking, okay, fine. Cody can pin him now, whatever. But no, there's more to go. They botch a leapfrog. Cody starts selling his knee. I have no idea if this is intentional or not. Then Cody hits a diving cutter, which only starts his comeback. I am begging Cody to pin this man and end this debacle. Cody gets a figure four. Peter Avalon reverses the figure four on Cody Rhodes. Come the fuck on, I wrote in all caps. They roll the hold back over. Peter slaps Cody across the face while in a figure four leg lock, which would cause great damage to the knee and ankle, and it's an agonizingly painful hold. He slaps Cody across the face. Cody rears back for a slap, when Peter Avalon, who has been in a fight now for 10 minutes, who has delivered superplexes and missed moonsaults, and is in a figure four, all of which is far more painful than being slapped in the face, he is so terrified about this slap that he taps out to avoid it. I was so angry at this match. I was so angry at this finish. Fuck Peter Avalon. Fuck whoever put this match together. Fuck whoever gave it 10 minutes. Fuck off.
Listen.
I was insulted. Do you understand?
Okay.
My time was wasted.
I don't want a fantasy book, all right? But, like, there's an easy way to do this, which is not this, okay? Cody could have come out last week and called out Shaq. But, like, Shaq's doing whatever Shaq does. He's not there.
He's very busy.
So pretty Peter Avalon comes out to talk about how much more handsome he is than dashing Cody Rhodes. Cody on Twitter this week said that he was going to beat this guy in 1 minute. Have him say that in the promo. Bro, I'll beat you in 1 minute next week. If you want to come down here to the ring, I'll beat you in a minute. The match starts. Immediately, Jade Cargill comes out. Pretty Peter hits a low blow. He gets maybe 40 seconds of heat.
Yes.
Cody cuts him off. He puts him in the figure four leg lock. The instant he's in the leg lock, Peter Avalon needs to do the slap so you don't kill the figure four. And then Cody rears back, but Pretty Peter is so worried about not being pretty that he taps fiercely and screams and grabs his leg, and it's over. But it turns out it went 1:19. So Cody couldn't beat him in a minute, and it was all Jade Cargill's fault. Fine, you accomplished everything that we accomplished here, but the match did not need to go 10 minutes.
No.
You're talking about a casual fan of AEW, and everyone's worried about -1. Pretty Peter Avalon for 10 minutes against Cody, that's a far bigger issue.
Yes.
Now, I understand that Cody apparently just wanted to work a long time with Peter Avalon because he likes the guy. That's what Dark's for.
Yes.
Cody, if he wants to do an Iron Man match with Peter Avalon, go knock yourself out on Dark. Do it with somebody that needs, like, ring time. Go have a bunch of 60-minute matches with a bunch of the newer guys, a Brian Pillman Jr. or whatever. Teach him to work. Do all that stuff on Dark. But we did not need to see 10 minutes of Pretty Peter Avalon
No.
going toe-to-toe with Cody.
I definitely did not.
You're on this show.
No. FTR is doing a promo about being the #1 team in the tag team ratings. Now they need the belts back, but then Jurassic Express interrupts. Jungle Boy says, you guys might be the best team in the world, but being in the ring with you taught me one thing. It taught me that I know I can beat you. And Dax gets in his face, says, I can beat you without any help. And they go back and forth, and Luchasaurus promises that I'll be at ringside next week. He'll be there to make sure nobody gets involved. And Jungle Boy and Dax shake hands to agree to face off in combat next week. Jon Moxley versus Nick Camarado.
See, the weird thing about this is, this was similar to the Pretty Peter Avalon versus Dashing Cody Rhodes match, but this only went like 3 minutes, and the Peter Avalon match went 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But if you watch both matches, it is abundantly clear that they really like this Nick Camaroto, and they're going
As
to
they
do
should.
something with him.
As they should.
Whereas there are zero plans for Pretty
No.
Peter Avalon.
Pretty Peter Avalon is a comedy geek, and he should be very happy drawing a paycheck as a comedy geek who never does anything other than comedy geekiness.
My point is, I'm not sure why the times weren't switched.
I have no idea.
So Moxley goes in
There's
there.
no rational explanation.
He gives this guy the whole entire match.
And he looks good.
Finally beats him and chokes him out at the end. And you know, somebody had an idea. They emailed me. Nick Camaroto, this guy needs to be in the Jurassic Express, but he's a caveman.
Yeah, yes. That would be great, actually. He would fit right in. And that stable needs to keep growing. So Nick Camaroto, I thought he looked like Hercules Hernandez.
Caveman Camaroto.
He does.
That's way better than Nick.
He does for sure need a new name. There's no doubt about that. But I thought he looked like Hercules Hernandez. Excalibur noted he has Herculean strength. I think he got the same reference too.
Cavernario Camarado.
Aha!
That's a damn good one, if I do say so myself.
Yes. And they're talking about how he looks like Bruiser Brody. They claim he has a 600-pound bench press, which is a lot, but looking at him, I believe it. He's big and thick. College graduate. He's a smart caveman with an accounting degree. He takes a corner bump like Bret Hart. For these 3 or 4 minutes, whatever this was, he looked totally fine in there with the former heavyweight champion of the world. Fit right in. I was very, very much impressed with Nick Camaroto. Eventually, he no-sells a big lariat, but then he gets caught in a sleeper. And no matter how big you are, if you lose your air, you go out. And Moxley wins via sleeper. That match ruled. I need more Nick Camaroto, though he does need a new name of some kind.
Sure. Very fun match.
So Moxley does his promo. He can't keep track of everything he says, who's in Bullet Club, who's in Elite, who's in Impact Wrestling, but he doesn't care. Omega thought his frat brothers from Nashville would watch his back. He just made it more fun, more interesting. Now there's going to be more brawls, more violence, more necks to break, more limbs to snap. Bring in your friends from Nashville, bring it from Mexico, bring it from Japan. All roads in pro wrestling lead through me. And Moxley's promos are always great.
He got me very excited for this invasion, which is, in fact, I can confirm, so much better than the WCW
Oh,
invasion.
God, yes. If that needed to be stated, I will agree with you, Brian. The Impact invasion of AEW is 1,000 times better than the WCW invasion of WWF. Dasha is trying to interview Eddie Kingston about his match with Lance Archer. Lance Archer interrupts. They shout at each other for a while, and nothing happens.
Oh, they announced they're going to have a match next week, one-on-one.
Well, yeah, that's how it started, but
Yeah.
okay. This whole three-way feud is just so weird to me. Alex Marvez interviews Kenny Omega, who has one of the best outfits in pro wrestling history.
This guy went from wearing his pajamas.
Yes! He used to wear pajamas. In his entrance video,
Total
was him
180.
with his pajamas and a backpack through the streets of Tokyo or wherever he was.
Yes.
Now he's out here. He's got his super expensive sunglasses, purple paisley button-up shirt, pinstripe trousers. And I didn't even notice him here. They came up later. His big fancy rock star boots look like $1 million. So he goes to show off his great outfit to Don Callis, but he is distracted because Don Callis has a giant black eye. And Don is trying so hard to kayfabe it about, oh, he had an accident at home. Oh, he slipped and hit a door. And he accidentally lets it slip that Nick and Matt just got excited. And Omega hears Nick and Matt, and he gets outraged. And the cameraman's kicked out of the room, and this is going to get settled later.
Great.
It was great. Matt Sydal and Top Flight versus Matt Hardy and Private Party. So the story of this match is in the end is that Matt Hardy has succeeded in corrupting Private Party, and it's working for them. They were wrestling in the beginning. They got their asses kicked. He refused to let them tag out, ordered them to be more aggressive. They whipped ass for a while. And then the good guys, as it turns out, made their comeback. But Private Party cheated. Isaiah Cassie used a chair. And Mark Quinn was not expecting that, but once he saw it, he was happy with it. He hit a shooting star press for the win. And Matt Hardy is, in fact, turning Private Party around. That's all a very good story. The match itself had a lot of really, really cool stuff and a lot of really, really clunky stuff, a lot of just up and down parts. But I was watching and thinking, for as green as these two teams are, they are also both ridiculously talented. And I get to watch Private Party and Top Flight feud with each other now for like a decade. And it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, the match was really good. Good story. The right finish. I don't know what else to add.
MJF goes to meet with the Inner Circle, everyone except Jericho. Says if it were up to him, this match might not be happening. But Chris Jericho is their leader, so what he says goes. Sammy starts to get in MJF's face, but everyone else holds him back. And MJF says, Sammy, look, I love you. I respect you for speaking your opinions and your thoughts, but I'm not a sociopath. I want what's best for everyone. Let's all get through this match for tonight and come out of it better. And he holds up his fists. And Sammy won't bump them and says, we're not there yet. And MJF says, I understand. And he leaves. Layla Hirsch versus Penelope Ford. So Penelope comes out with Kip Sabian and Miro and Charles Taylor, who is now their butler in a full tuxedo. And Chuck Taylor in a tuxedo looks as uncomfortable as you would imagine Chuck Taylor in a tuxedo would be.
You know, I don't know if Penelope Ford and Kip Sabian are legitimately... I can't imagine they're legitimately getting married in the ring. I presume they've got an actual wedding date. But one way or the other, Penelope Ford is the leanest I've ever seen her.
Yeah.
She's in fantastic shape. So my guess is they're probably actually getting married soon as well.
I bet they are. So they've been a very fun match, but there is a long commercial break, longer than most commercial breaks in the middle of it. So we missed like half the match. I think the entire Heat segment, like it's NXT. And then they did a crap finish where they're fighting and Penelope makes a cover and Layla had a dive out onto Sabian and Chuck. And then when Penelope makes a cover, Sabian holds Layla's feet down. So between the commercial and the finish, they didn't really have much of a chance. But they went out there and worked as hard as they could. And what they did was very good. They were just kind of screwed from the break.
Well, I mean, the match was supposed to be Layla and Nyla. And Nyla, because of a COVID exposure, was not on the show. So this match was never even supposed to happen. So they did it and they had to come up with some finish. And that's what they came up with. But at least they could continue the storyline here, where Charles the Butler is forced to tell his friend Orange that Miro is my best friend now.
Yes.
You've never seen a sadder Orange Cassidy.
Miro has to says, you must look Orange in the eye and say that I, Miro, am your best friend now. And Charles says, Orange, Miro is my best friend now. And Orange Cassidy sulks and walks away. And Jim Ross is talking about how Miro has torn the best friends apart. I'm like, come on.
Actually, it's funny because as Miro says, Charles, I want you to take the mic and tell Orange Cassidy that I am your best friend now. And literally, when he's not looking, Chuck looks right at Orange and shakes his head no. Like, I'm going to lie here. But Orange sold it, so anyway, it was there.
So obviously the story is... Orange Cassidy's a grown man, right? His feelings aren't hurt.
He's a fucking orange.
Because this guy is contractually obligated to say that he's not a best friend anymore. He didn't say he didn't like Orange. He just said Miro's his best friend. It's ridiculous. The Good Brothers
Well, you had to say that, Vinny, because their gimmick is they're the best friends.
Well, the best friends is Chuck and Trent.
And Orange.
There's 3 best friends.
Yes, they're all the best friends.
I see. Well, now it's Chuck and Trent and Orange and Miro.
Yeah, I guess I hadn't thought of that.
Yes. He never said, I don't like you. You're not
No, but he said that he's my best friend. So now the best friends are Charles and Miro.
Yes.
And maybe Kip.
The Good Brothers jump Penta El Zero M backstage. Kenny Omega joins in, and they jab his awesome Rockstar boot into Penta's eyeball. Next week on Dynamite, Eddie Kingston versus Lance Archer. Cody responds to Shaq like a month after that Shaq promo. Has Cody been sitting in a dark room
now
somewhere
he went
thinking
10
the right
minutes
words?
with that Peter Avalon. He's pissed off now.
I guess. Dax Harwood versus Jungle Boy. And in what on the surface sounds like a very strange match, the Young Bucks and the Good Brothers will team up to face the Dark Order. And then in 2 weeks at Beach Break, the Sabian Ford wedding, Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker, and a tag team battle royal with a winning team getting a title shot at the Revolution pay-per-view. Also, coming soon, a Women's World Championship Eliminator Tournament, which, based on the graphic, appears to be U.S. versus Japan. Which would be cool.
You know, the storyline is very interesting with the Bucks and Kenny and the Good Brothers because Kenny is clearly a heel.
Yes.
The Bucks have been baby faces, except for that one weird thing before the tag title match. And clearly these Good Brothers are not good people.
They're bad brothers.
Yes, they're bad brothers. So when the Bucks came out and did the hand signal, like some people really didn't like that because it's like, are the Bucks heels now? No. The story is that the Bucks and Kenny and the Good Brothers, they have been friends. Mm-hmm. And when the whole breakup with Kenny and Hangman occurred, and Kenny was clearly the bad guy in the story, the Bucks were still his friend. Kenny never did anything personally to them. If Sean said some dumb thing on Twitter and I yelled at him, I mean, you're still going to do the show. You know what I'm saying? Even though I turned heel on your buddy, maybe he deserved it.
There's a good chance, yeah.
So that's like the story here. That's why the story progression is that Don Callis is trying to break up Kenny and the Bucks. And so he's manipulating them.
Yes.
So that the Bucks are getting pissed off at Kenny. Kenny's getting pissed off at the Bucks, but they're not actually really doing anything to each other. So it's a more complex story than you normally get in wrestling. But I'm okay with it so far.
Everyone's internal motivations and allegiances all make sense.
Yeah, Kenny's still their friend until he's not anymore.
I understand why the Bucks are conflicted. They even mentioned it. We've been on 14-hour bus rides with this guy. Where have you been, Don Callis? So yes, they're mad at their friend right now, but he's still their friend. The Inner Circle Tag Team Challenge. MJF and Chris Jericho, who had a sweet mashup of their theme songs put together, versus Sammy and Hager versus Proud and Powerful. So Jericho got a favor from a buddy, which may have been, his buddy may have been Sammy Hagar, but anyway, he got a video from Sammy Hagar wishing luck to Sammy and Hager. So my takeaway from this match, they had a fun TV match main event. My takeaway from this is that I think they were only put together because of the joke about their names, but Sammy Guevara and Jake Hager would actually be a hell of a tag team.
Well, they are right now.
Well, I hope they stay that way.
Yeah.
And they didn't win this match, but there's definite... Remember when Sid was teamed with a 1-2-3 Kid? And then 1-2-3 Kid would piss people off and then go hide behind the giant angry guy? That's Sammy Guevara and Jake Hager. Sammy Guevara is an inherently punchable face, as we discussed many times. He can go be an arrogant prick who pisses people off, and then when it's time for his comeuppance, he goes and hides behind his bully. It's perfect. That's perfect. That's a perfect combo. So there's a point in the opening match that I forgot to mention. I talked about how it was clunky in parts. One of the dudes in Top Flight tried to do, I think he was doing a flip. I don't even think it was supposed to be a moonsault. But he tried a flip at one point and flipped right on top of his brain and about died. And it scared the hell out of me. It turns out it was just foreshadowing. Because in this match, Chris Jericho tries a lionsault and lands right on top of his head and about dies.
Dude, I watched this a couple of times, and there's just bodies everywhere in the ring. And he's supposed to be doing this, I think it was onto Sammy. But Sammy and MJF had just done a spot, and Jericho had to go from his corner, and he had to run across the ring and hit the ropes, but also either jump over or run around two men. So I'm 99.99999% sure that what happened was he took off on the wrong foot.
Okay.
And it just screwed everything up. Because you could see that he landed, like, even...
It never, at no point did it look good.
No, it's not like he jumped on the ropes perfectly and then screwed up the lionsault. He didn't even get on the ropes right.
Yeah.
You could see that getting on the ropes was awkward, and then he just felt like he had to go, and he just went. Like, this was one of those, he doesn't need to retire the lionsault yet. The day that this happens, when everything works out right, that's the day to retire the lionsault. Everything went wrong. It would just, from the moment he started running, it was a complete disaster. Luckily, he didn't kill himself. So it was scary. I will say that. The thing about this match is it's all of the Inner Circle in 3 two-man units having a match, okay?
Gotcha.
So what you would think is, well, it's going to be one long storyline. But it wasn't.
No.
it was one really good 3-team tag team match.
Yeah.
And there was like one storyline, which was that Sammy Guevara is just the best babyface.
Yes.
And MJF and him still hate each other.
Yeah.
And MJF stayed out of the ring as long as humanly possible. And finally he got in there at the end, and he cheated to pin the guy that he had just given the speech to earlier.
Even before the finish, there's a moment about 3/4 of the way through when Jericho tries to use the baseball bat, but Hager cuts him off. And MJF tries to use the ring, but Hager also cuts him off. So Hager, of course, is Sammy's partner. So that's Jericho and Max trying to screw Hager and Sammy once, and then twice with the ring. And then the third time, Sammy hits the go to hell on Jericho. He picks up MJF for it, but Wardlow was on the apron. So he goes to hit Wardlow, knocks him down, but Max is able to cradle him and hook the trunks. And that hooking of the trunks is the first time anyone successfully cheated in the entire match. Everyone wrestled a totally clean match up to that point. Jericho tried to cheat, but he was foiled. Max tried to cheat, but he was foiled. And then Max tried to succeed, and the third time was the charm, and he won. So per the storyline now, Jericho and MJF are going to be the top team in the Inner Circle. I will assume they would be in that tag team battle royal at Beach Break.
Should also be noted that the whole story is that Jericho announced that him and MJF were going for the titles. Everybody else was pissed off about it. So his argument was, well, let's just wrestle and see who the best team is. Him and his partner are the only team that tried to cheat to fuck their friends.
Yes. Yes, yes.
And in fact, in the end, it succeeded. The other thing with the Lion Salt, by the way, is I was watching this match, and it just seemed like they were rushing in the last couple of minutes.
It's funny you mentioned that.
The announcers are like, dude, this may be TV time limit. It's like a minute left. So I think that might have been part of the problem, because he did the Lion Salt with like a minute left. And so he didn't have time, it seemed to me, to like wait till they moved out of the way to go run. It was like, I gotta go. And he went, and he did the move, and it was like boom, 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 and then they went off the air.
It was a to the back moment here on.
Yes.
So it was to the movie or whatever the shot was on after this.
Yeah. I like the match though.
Match was a lot of fun. Show was a lot of fun. Well, it's time to vote.
Yeah, it is.
And
I'll go first for once.
all right.
So what's interesting is when we vote, like a lot of the time, most of the time, I think we vote for AEW.
More often than not, or tie.
The majority of the times.
Yeah.
The majority of the times, AEW wins the ratings.
Right.
The few times that we have tied, it seems to me that those are weeks where the numbers are very close.
Gotcha. Yes.
This is one of those rare times where AEW beat them by over 200,000 viewers.
About 25% or so. Yeah. Yeah.
But I am going to give the win to NXT.
Well.
And very much like last week, it's 10-9. It's close. I liked NXT a little bit more, especially because, like, the thing with NXT is there's so many good wrestlers and there's so many good matches, but I say it every week, there's so much shit that fucking irritates me.
Yeah.
So no matter how good everything is, I got pissed off about this, I got pissed off about that, I'm confused about this, I'm annoyed about that. It comes on and vote, and it's like, dude, AEW wins. This week, nothing. There's like two things that may irritate me down the road. I'm going to give it time. But in general, it was like the finishes.
Yeah.
There was only a couple times where they did the bullshit commercial fucking shit, which still does irritate me.
Yeah.
But in general, like the matches, like the finishes. We had some clean finishes. It wasn't interference in every single fucking match. It was a very good wrestling show, and so they deserve the win this week.
I agree with on the big picture, everything you just said. NXT was a very good show. I also thought AEW was also a very good show, so I'm going to vote for a tie.
Wow. Well, AEW was a very good show.
It was.
But I am giving it to NXT this week, so
That's why we have
mark
two
it down
votes.
on that goddamn sheet.
It's marked.
Are we starting over for the new year, or are we continuing on?
We started over.
All right.
And so far, actually, it's very close. It's NXT 2, AEW 2 with 3 ties.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Has not the first 2 years of this contest were not terribly close.